director Jacob Tremblay. We have actor Chris O'Dowd. Writer Meg LeFauve. Producer Lynn. Producer Bonnie Curtis. Line producer Zahra, welcome. Composer Danna. Composer Mychael Danna. And last but certainly not least, and to speak before the film, filmmaker, director Nora Twomey.
So much for coming along today to watch My Father's Dragon. Animation is film is such a fantastic festival. I am so delighted that it exists, and I can't think of a better premiere for My Father's Dragon in North America except for animation as film. I think it's an amazing festival and very aptly titled festival as well. So thank you all for your support. We have a number of crew in the audience. We have supervising sound editor, I think Justin is here, or the amazing editor Darren Holmes is here. I'm missing out on anyone. This film wouldn't be possible but for the inspiration of Ruth Stiles Gannett, who's 99 now and is an amazing woman. And also John Morgan, without whose humanity and storytelling magic, we wouldn't have My Father's Dragon either. So thank you all again for coming today, and I hope you enjoy the film. It's for anybody, no matter how old you are, anybody who doesn't know what happens next, this film is for you.
So please join me in welcoming director Nora Twomey, writer Meg LeFauve, Jacob Tremblay, the voice of Owen, and Chris O'Dowd, the voice of Quad. So the book of My Father's Dragon goes back to 1948, and I remember it as a little boy, and I'm curious, how did you come to this property, Nora, and had the rest of you read the books as a child, or were you aware of them before this production?
I wasn't aware of it as a child. I don't think it's as well known in Ireland as it is here in the States, but I think maybe Meg, you could speak to the origins of it.
Yes, I started to read the book to my kids and suddenly realized that all those images I had in my mind that I thought were my own invention actually came from the book, because I was so little when I heard the book that I didn't remember the book. So it was like a revelation to me, and I remember what I loved about the book when I was that little was this boy has all the answers in his backpack to all of these really scary things, and that he had his own agency, that he could take care of himself and he could deal with the wild island animals. So myself and my writing partner at the time, John Morgan, optioned the book, and it went to our friends Julie and Bonnie, who are the producers, and we all optioned the book together. And then we had a meeting, and we said, okay, who would be our dream people to do this with us? And Julie and I both said at the same time, Cartoon Saloon. Well, I actually said Secret of the Kells People. And it is literally like winning the lottery to get to work with Nora and Cartoon Saloon. It really is like winning the lottery.
Jacob and Chris, had you read the books?
I had read it to my kids. Somebody had given it to me 3 or 4 years ago. I've got like a 5 and 7-year-old, and so I had read it to them. And I hadn't really read a lot of books, although I boast. So I hadn't remembered it until Nora had sent it my way then more recently. But it's such a gorgeous story.
For me, I'm similar to Nora, where in Canada, I don't think I never got the chance to read it there. But after I heard about it, after I read the script, I did my own research and looked at the book.
Nora, you assembled a very impressive cast for this, and you have, besides the two gentlemen here, Diane Wiest, Whoopi Goldberg, Mary Kay Place, Rita Moreno. How did you assemble them, and how did you manage to get such wonderful recording tracks during COVID?
2 words, Amy Lippens, and I think she's in the audience here today. Our casting director. Amy put together an incredible ensemble and was able to kind of think of the voices in terms of an orchestra almost, kind of thing, making sure that the tones of, like Chris and Ian went together, even though they didn't get a chance to record together. That Jacob and Gaten also, they suit each other really well, and they don't actually even enter the same kind of range, which is really amazing. So she kind of initially kind of asked, okay, what type of people would you like, kind of thing. I said, well, Rita Moreno-ish type kind of person or whatever. And then she'd just go and get Rita Moreno. So she's just incredible and pushed me as a director further than I would have probably, pushed myself. And that kind of support and initiative on a project like this is just amazing, because then when we had that incredible voice cast, I knew that the animator's job was going to be easier, and they were going to be energized by the beautiful performances that they were getting.
Well, yes, and at a time when the voices in many animated films seem to have studied at the Hormel School of Theatrical Acting, a lot of this is very underplayed and very subtle. And again, Chris and Jacob, what was it like to be recording with Nora over Zoom, I assume, or Skype or whatever technology you used, and to try and create that performance?
We were actually lucky enough to be able to record in person, because let's say we recorded about 3 years ago. I was 13, and so we were able to record in person. I was there with Gaten, and having Nora there was amazing, because oftentimes me and Gaten would start improvising a lot, and some of it ended up in the film as well. But Nora's so fantastic, and this was my first big animation. So, it was a learning curve. It was a learning curve at first, because it was a little awkward for me to be like standing there with the mic and the script on the stand. But having Nora there, she did an amazing job at making me feel comfortable.
Oh, James.
Anything to add, Chris?
I mean, I will say the one thing with animation is it's not like the place where you usually record your voice is a very social place anyway. It's a little black box even on the non-pandemic year. So I don't know if it was necessarily any worse. And because the material was so strong and Nora was very present, I was lucky that Nora was there in another room through the glass, like we were lovers at war. And so it was very immediate and very present and very exciting, because you could see it coming together. Like it was new to me to be part of the experience so early on, when they had just started putting the animations together. So that was kind of beautiful to see progress.
A question, Nora, for you and for Megan. One of the things that I liked about the books that you kept in the film is the scale of the action. When they tried to turn 1010 into that motion capture film, everything got blown out of scale, and you had machine guns and car chases. Whereas in the original books and in the film, this is something you feel that a 12-year-old boy could do. And can you talk about preserving that scale in a sense that that his character Elmer is believable as a boy, and that he's doing things? Yeah, a smart kid could do that.
Certainly, when it came to the animation, we were very careful to not do anything that would kill him. We didn't want to kind of enter that space where he drops like 20 feet and lands weirdly or something like that. We wanted to hold on to his mortality, because that gives much bigger stakes if he feels vulnerable and looks vulnerable. But also, I had taken a trip to see Ruth Stiles Gannett early on in the process, and she really wanted to make sure that Elmer, when she wrote the book, she wanted to make sure that he was somebody who was autonomous, thought for himself, and wasn't a superhero or didn't have magic powers. He was just a kid. And so that was really important to her, and that was something that we tried to keep into the whole thing. You had read it as a book, actually, and you talked to me about that very same thing, and so that's what makes it important to make sure that he's just a kid.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is the spirit of the book and the heart of the book. That we had a lot it's inspired by, because the book is quite simple. It's just meeting different animals, and he saves the dragon at the end. So we had to invent a plot for them to meet at the beginning of the movie, and then what happens. And I remember the day that John Morgan, my writing partner, called me up and said, "What if the island is sinking?" Because it kind of is a great metaphor for what this boy is going through at home, right? It feels like his world is sinking. But when he gets to the island, it was really important that, because what I loved about the book is what he does, any child could do, right? He could pull, a lollipop out of his backpack, and this boy is quite smart and brave, of course, but that's part of the magic.
Yeah, and Jacob, when you were recording those lines, did that feel like, yeah, I could do this? I'm not having to fantasize or see myself in a flowing cape and horned armor. Did it feel a real adventure for you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I love about this story is that the hero isn't just some cape guy, with big muscles or anything like that. I think it's special for me because it teaches how your emotions are important, and your emotions are what give you your strength, and that's something that Boris shows Elmer. So in recording, it was a lot. I mean, it was a lot of fun just because he's so ambitious, and I really enjoyed playing that with Nora and Gaten. So to kind of, and especially in those emotional scenes too, having Gaten there really, really helped, because we were just able to go so deep into it. And surprisingly, for an animated film, we went really deep into the emotions.
Chris, Richard Sherman once said, "There's no difference between writing a song for Julie Andrews and writing a song for Snoopy." Is there a difference between being...
I presume I'm going to be Snoopy in this situation.
But is there a difference between the work you do to create a character like Roy or your other live action roles and, a rather bad-tempered baboon?
I mean, to an extent they are different, but only in that you spend a lot more time with one than the other. I think with Kwan, he just seemed like he is the baboonification of that old adage that anger and fear are the same side of the same coin, and he is just very fearful, just as Jacob's character is, because he just doesn't know what's going on, and everything that they're trying isn't working, and it feels like, I don't know if that's relevant to the world as we are in it now, where it's this slow sinking feeling, and because he's fearful of that, he's striking out because he's clueless, as we all are. So it was an easy enough one to step into, just be clueless and angry.
Another question for all of you, then we need to wrap up. They only gave us a few minutes. That is, there are 2 more books in this series. Any thoughts or plans to continue?
I just need to sleep for a long time now. Production for nearly 5 years, I guess. But I don't know what next.
Is Netflix here?
Are you game for sequels?
Is Netflix here?
Well, do you guys want a sequel or a TV show?
Okay, we thank our guests, we thank Netflix for bringing them in so we could talk to them, and we thank you for coming to the film. Good evening.